Hey guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. I'm so grateful that you guys are listening to my videos on podcasts or watching them on YouTube or in general commenting, subscribing and interacting with my content. In this video, I want to speak to you guys about how I've noticed, at least for the INFJs that I've dealt with, that we have a really hard time keeping up or keeping in contact with people from a long time ago, from like past lives or past opportunities, past jobs, past universities, past schools. For example, for me, I think I've gone to 2 universities. I've taken 2 degrees. I have a bachelor's of science in kinesiology, which I've never used, and an MBA in marketing and strategy, which I've used slightly. And from both of those universities, I think I am in contact with one actual person that maybe I talk to once a year, if longer than that, right? From high school, middle school, elementary school, I am not in contact with any of those people at all. I know them, they're on my Facebook because they've added me, or Instagram, and I see their lives changing. I see them having children, I see them traveling, I see them doing interesting things with their life. And so I know of them, I know that they're alive and well, I know their trials and tribulations, but in general, I am not in contact with them that I message them every few months or years and ask them what they're doing. So I don't have real contact with those people. In fact, I would say that we are basically strangers now. Just the fact that I know what's going on with them superficially doesn't mean anything, right? And so I don't have contact with any of those people. Now kind of different for me because I moved around a lot when I was a child. So when I was 4 or 5 months old, I was born in New Delhi in India, but when I was 4 or 5 months old, my father got a job in the Middle East, in Yemen. And so I moved with my family, my mother, back to Yemen. So my mom came to India to give birth to me, and then we moved back to Yemen together. And so I lived in the Middle East almost half of my life. So I lived there until I was 16, and then I moved to Canada, right? And so I lived in Canada for the rest of my life until I moved here to Chiang Mai. But in general, we moved around a lot. We moved around at least every 4 or 5 years to different countries in the Middle East. And then in Canada was the longest stint. I lived there for 20 years, around 20 years, 18 to 20 years. So that was my longest stint, and I think that's the reason I do keep in contact with a few more people in Toronto than I do anywhere else. The reason I wanted to share this video is because a lot of times I think that's one of the reasons why INFJs end up alone or lonely or by themselves, not only in their old age, obviously, but also in general. I am only 35. I say only. I'm only 35, but I know that I spend way more time by myself, alone in this room than anyone else my age. I'm sure a lot of people my age are actually married and have kids, so they're spending time with them. But even if they're not, even if they're single, and I know a few people like that, they're still spending more time with friends and family than I do. Of course, one of the reasons for that has to be the fact that I'm an introvert, so it kind of changes things around. But also I think a lot of it has to do with our INFJ-ness, that we don't really need people around us. We don't really need friends, family around us, or we don't need to keep in contact with the people that we love. Now, even when I was in university, people would always ask me the same question. Why do you spend so much time by yourself? And I'd happily be walking around by myself, listening to music or just doing some people watching. I'd be walking through the university campus, and that's a really good spot for people watching. There's so many different kinds of people coming in and out all day long from different countries, different cultures. And so I'd be walking around, doing my own thing, minding my own business. And I'd always get people asking me, why do you spend so much time by yourself? And these are people that are in my, seminars or in my classes or in my degree, and I know of them. I've seen them. They've seen me. Maybe I know their name. We've kind of been introduced in passing. But it never occurred to me to think that, I should go hang out with some other people. My constant default throughout my life, except for when I was a child and I used to spend a lot of time with my siblings. Except for that time, my default is always thinking, okay, cool, I am going to spend time by myself. Even when I go shopping, even when I go drinking, even if I go for a meal, my default is always, all right, cool, I'm going to go by myself. Sometimes, it ends up that I end up going to places with people. I'm part of several groups here in Chiang Mai, and people are always asking, oh, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? You want to go here? You want to go there? And I always think to myself, oh, that's interesting. People actually go to places with other people when they do these things. I went to a market yesterday to buy some fabric. I couldn't find it properly, but I did still go. And my default, obviously, my instinct is to go by myself. And then I was part of this group that people are always saying, oh, I'm going here today. Do you want to go with me? I'm going here today. Do you want to go with me? And interestingly enough, it never occurred to me to post in that group and say, oh, I'm going here. Do you guys want to go with me? Now that I'm actually privy to it, I see it happening a lot with the other people in the group, I think to myself, so that's what normal, maybe extroverted people do. Or maybe just normal people in general who have this sense of wanting to spend time with other people. For me, I think, and for INFJs in general, I think the weird thing for us would be to go hang out with people. As I said, the default is being alone and on your own, and that's not the default for most people. For most people, the normal is to spend time with other people. The default is to spend time with other people. And the weird thing for them would be to be by themselves. I hear and I see this a lot where people are complaining when they have to spend time on their own, or they are alone, or they're not in a relationship. A lot of people jump from relationship to relationship, or if they have to go somewhere by themselves, they bitch and moan about it because they think to themselves, but why do I have to do this? Why am I so alone, etc., right? It's the opposite for us, obviously. For us, we are happy and excited sometimes even to go spend time on our own. I was excited yesterday. I was so excited to go on my own, to go exploring. I can do whatever I want. I can go wherever I want. I can leave whenever I want. I can eat whatever foods I want. I can talk to people if I want to. I can ignore them if I want to. I can shut myself off by putting on my headphones, or I can be open and have conversations with vendors and chat with locals. And so there's a lot more possibilities in my mind as an INFJ, as a human being, when I'm going off on my own. That's one of the reasons I love to travel on my own as well. I love traveling with my sister and my family and people that I travel with normally. It's great. It's a different way of doing it. But I always try to have 1 or 2 trips, short ones even, where I'm on my own and I kind of get to explore what I would do when I'm on my own. What are the things that I choose? Mostly food. Most of my trips are based on food. What food am I going to eat today? What food am I going to eat in the evening? What food am I going to eat in the afternoon? And that's basically my entire trip. I move from place to place, just figuring out, oh, this is what I want to eat. All right, I'm going to go there. This is what I want to eat. I'm going to go there. And then I end up exploring the city in the process. But basically, food is a paramount thing. Again, as I said, the reason I wanted to do this video is because I wanted to remind us and myself, I need to remind myself that it is our default mode to think that we're supposed to do things alone. We're supposed to be alone. We're supposed to hang out by ourselves. That's our default. We always just kind of end up doing that without even thinking about the possibility that there might be another way of doing things, right? It doesn't even occur to us in our heads that we should be doing things differently. It's something that we don't even think about. It's like a far off possibility that's in the far away future, and we think to ourselves, it's never going to happen to us, right? But there is a possibility, and there should be a possibility, and there should be the thing that we should do is we should try and bring more of these interactions with other human beings into our lives. Maybe as an experiment. Maybe we're doing it just because we want to see what other people behave like, normal people behave like, or we want to hang out with them so we can study them. That sounds so weird, or whatever your reason might be. But I always implore you guys, as INFJs, as introverts, to try and interact with human beings more. It's not easy, and I know our default is always going to be hanging out by ourselves. But in order to have more interactions with other people, to learn about them, to have more people in our life, more friends in our life, to be able to rely upon other people. You know, what if you are in a car accident and you're in the middle of nowhere and you can call a friend and they can take care of you? But if you have no friends, or if you have no one that you can depend upon, no one that you've tested out in that manner, no one that you have, no friends that you have, then how are you going to take care of yourself, right? And that's one of the things that I noticed a lot in my university years and in my 20s, is that because I isolated myself so much, I had no interactions with other people, and I realized that if I did get into trouble anywhere in Toronto, that I would have no one to call upon in order to take care of myself except my family, which is fine. I'm lucky that I have my family, I have my siblings, I can call upon them anytime, I trust them, and I know they will come for me. But I was sad to think that there was no one else that I could call upon that would be there for me. You know, no one else that I could call and say, I'm really feeling sad today, or I really want to do this today, do you want to do this with me, or could you talk to me for a little bit, or could you hang out with me because I'm feeling lonely, whatever it might be, right? There was no one like that in those years that I could imagine would do that for me. Now, nowadays, it's a completely different story, and it's because I have garnered and I have fostered relationships with people, not only because I want to use them, but also because I want to help them as well. I want it to be a give and take relationship. And have a lot of people in my life right now, I'm so grateful to say that have that relationship with me where they can rely upon me, and they do, and I can rely upon them, and I do, right? And so it's a give and take, awesome, beautiful relationship that makes me grow as a human being and also helps them in their own way. I hope this makes sense to you guys. I am not trying to dictate how you guys should live your life, obviously. I just think that this is one of our faults, maybe, or one of the things that we do, not wrongly necessarily, but not rightly either, right? So we should really be thinking about it and trying to foster more relationships with people, instead of just going back to our default that, you know, I'm fine being alone. And yes, of course, you are fine being alone. I'm fine being alone as well. But why be alone when there are, 7.5 billion other people on this planet, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be friends with all 7.5 billion, but have a couple of friends that you can rely upon. It'll really change the way you look at the world. It'll really change the way you look at yourself as well. If you guys have any questions about this video or any other video that I've done, please message me anytime. All my contact information is in the description below. And I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.